Yep.
All right.
So
Yeah, I left up the two events for the next couple ones because I was afraid people who had set would not get their warnings when they wanted them. So I
I,
left up the event for this one and the next one.
yeah, I get too many warnings.
I got you.
So so while it's just you and me, I want to tell you about this workshop that I'm doing
Oh, cool.
about digital literacy,
Mhm.
and you would like it. You would like it. It's these two English guys. One's middle school and one's college, but they've. If you want to ever check into their Twitter, I'll put that up on someplace so you can get it. Hashtag CRWP. But
CRP.
it's it's pretty cool. Right now, I'm trying to write my professional relevant text,
Okay.
which is for me is going to be a unit plan, but it has to include all these digital literacies, these digital tools,
Okay.
and I have about 25 of them on my list right now. I
25
think
tools for
probably
one
you're
unit?
familiar with a lot of them, but well, no, yeah. Uh, these are just the list that I'm going to put out there, and my kids can play with them throughout the year, but I'm just trying to decide which two or three I'm going to use for each
Okay.
unit so that by the end of the year they've been exposed to all of them.
So are you having to do like app smashing? Because that's something I had to do at the training that I had, where you like take three apps and put them together to make one kind of progressive lesson plan.
I guess there's Audacity,
Yeah.
um, and then Animoto and Magisto.
Magisto? What's Magisto?
That's it's uh, it's like Tagxito, Tagxito, where they take
Okay.
all the words,
Yeah, a word cloud thing.
but instead of words, it's picture.
Interesting. There was something that I send kids to sometimes is Tag Galaxy. I think that's the taggalaxy.de, and you do a search and it searches all of Flickr. So like if we're doing Dia de los Muertos, like we'll search for Dia de los Muertos and it makes like a little
Right.
planet of the pictures. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like that.
Kind of like that, or you can take pictures. Like one gal, she just took pictures all around the building, as far as what teachers do, and then they just kind of put them all together and and she just picked the music.
So kind of a collage thing,
Right,
or
right. Yep, yeah.
oh, okay,
So
okay.
there's no, but the only thing is there's no speaking.
Mm.
So, I'm trying to, like at the beginning, like Powtoons is cool because it has them writing, but you have to do the voiceover so you get the
Right,
speaking element.
right.
So,
Although Magisto or any of the collage kind of things might be good just for writing prompts or something, or something
right,
to introduce the unit
yeah,
rather than being their final product. It might be something that you put
right,
together or that they put together to speak from.
right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, our group is in Selly. Have you ever used Selly?
I've heard of it, but I can't remember what it is.
It's it's hmm, it's kind of just like Twitter, only it's just a small group,
Is it kind
and
of like today's meet?
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Is that it's like comment?
Right. Yep. You can talk to each other. Yep. And it's like making comments, kind of like Twitter, only in a smaller setting with the
Not
friends.
open to every.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's just a lot of them, but a lot of them have to do with writing too. Writing literacy. So, but I did just get my keys,
Yay!
and I also have this one, uh, planning and learning.
Okay.
The
Who,
unit
who
plan.
read that one?
Yeah, for unit and lesson design. So once I'm done with this other workshop on Friday, then I can try to incorporate everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So So
So,
PBL tonight, huh?
yep. Yeah, were you at the last one or
Uh,
not?
I can't remember.
I can't
Was,
either.
I was at one. I was
We've
at
done
one.
so many. Well,
Yeah.
we've only had one PBL one so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, um, so I'm kind of working off of that, except for I'm not going to make mine as complicated with the driving question. And because I was talking to a teacher today, and she does PBL at her school, and there's a site called Echo.
Just echoed
Yep, it's
like
called
no.
Echo, and it has all the PBL um, like standards and the format and it lists out everything that they have to do. So pretty much the whole unit is kind of outlined for them. Somebody's already done it.
Yeah, there are some units on like BI on the Buck Institute page too. Is it through the New Tech Network?
I'm not sure what it's through, but she just typed in Echo. It's its own, its own page. You can just type in Echo.
Oh,
And I'm not sure I think it might be just software that she has for her, for her school, or they probably bought into it, but I'm not really
it
sure.
says it's the New Tech Network's learning management system. So like an Edmodo or a Schoology, I guess.
All right. So,
Yeah, so she has more resources than we do, I guess.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, but it's interesting. So anyway, so how many people do you think we're going to have tonight?
I don't know. I think a lot of people are holding out for the comprehensible input because we might
Yeah,
be getting
that. I
some of
missed
our
the first one.
experts. Me too.
Yeah.
And Heidi sent me the notes, but I haven't had a chance to look at them yet.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see those because I was wondering if someone's going to put them out there.
Yeah, I wonder if people. Did you have anything in particular you wanted to talk about related to PBL?
No, basically, I was just going to listen about that because I don't know much about it other than, um, you know, I don't know if that's something that I could actually plan because we have 12 weeks.
Hmm.
So,
Oh, that's right.
and so I'm not sure if that's something I could do like if I did 2 units, 6 weeks each.
Well, you might even just do one unit
Right.
and then like do more familiar stuff for a while.
Yeah,
I,
good idea.
I put up the link to the comprehensible from the other night, and
Okay.
well, whoa, shoes detailed. They talked about that about keys to assessing again. So,
Yeah.
all right,
I'm curious how you can just, how you're talking to me and you can do other things at the same time on your computer. How do you do that?
Alt Tab, my friend, Alt Tab. You hit Alt Tab, it toggles the windows,
Oh, okay.
and I can't see you while I'm doing this while I'm looking at the other thing.
Okay, I was wondering because I could see you the whole time, and it's like, wow, she's going someplace else, and I can still see her.
When I get this dead look on my face, it's probably because I'm looking at the notes or another page. Uh,
Okay.
I'm trying to get to the notes for today because it's shut down. Well, if it's just gonna be us for a while, then maybe I could ask you about some ideas off of you first that I had for some things that I'm gonna try and work on
Okay.
if my notes will ever come up. And it's not listening, but it's kind of get the idea of where we're headed with it because I've been doing it for a little while and I almost might have the hang of it.
Yeah.
Um, so my plan for this semester for my Spanish 1 kids is to do first I'm going to start out with Genius Hour and like kind of get them used to the tools that we have and like get them on their path for their own personal interest topics to continue throughout the semester like once a week. And then for the second unit, I was going to do a healthy habits thing, but then I found out that the 10th grade is going to be doing a service kind of project with Keep Gas and Beautiful with the county. So they're
Oh,
going to be doing like a service project with like cleaning up basically, like environmental stuff.
uh-huh.
So I decided maybe I want to do something with like environmental habits and like trying to figure out a way for them to um evaluate their own habits and come up with some kind of campaign for changing one habit. And like that could tie in with, you know, the daily routine kind of things. It could tie in with the everyday objects, the classroom objects. Um,
Yeah, I was wondering how you're going to tie environmental type things in with new, like weather, and like we typically do like weather and numbers and colors and like the introductions and um, let's see.
the introductions will probably be when we're doing the Genius Hour stuff at the beginning, and then but I think the numbers will be really interesting with it. It'll be like how many bottles of water a week do you consume, or like how how many minutes do you spend in the shower, or how many
Oh, okay.
packs of paper do you go through? Because it's kind of something like the I can't remember. It was one of the things I went to at ACTFL, and they had us like just talk about our daily like some kind of things like how many hours people spent watching TV, how many hours people spent watching or on social media or using electronic devices or whatever.
Oh,
But, and I figured and that generated some interesting conversations that were still very novice because
right. Oh, okay.
like you do this much, I do this much. Like, oh wow, and then you know you could talk about the difference and like who who spends more time in the shower, who uses more plastic, is boys or girls, or well, I guess I've got all 10th graders, but like if you had split classes, it could be like ninth or 10th graders,
Right.
or or they could survey people.
How much time does it take you to get to school?
Right, like how many minutes do you spend in a car each day? How much gas do your parents buy? And they might have to like ask people for that.
Right.
And I thought it might be neat if I could get like some of the native speakers' parents to come in, or some maybe some business people to talk to them, and they could like discuss their businesses or their families' habits,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then maybe talk like analyze what do we need to attack first, and
Right.
then each group could come up with what they want to deal with.
Okay. Yeah. So that'd be good. Small groups. I'm not as familiar with the Genius Hour thing.
Hmm.
I'm not, I mean, I know it's on Twitter, but I don't have any idea what it is other than I don't have any idea what they do or anything. It's just a
It's
Twitter,
basically
right?
it's what
It's a Twitter hashtag
there,
Twitter.
there is a hashtag for it because they have a chat about it. I think it's usually right after Lang chat, but
Right.
Genius Hours basically you have time set aside for them to work on a topic they're passionate about. And like Google does it, and that's how they come up with like some of their coolest things. It's like something that works towards something that the company could do, but like 20% of their week they get to do whatever they want. And so like I had set aside Fridays, and like they picked a topic that they wanted to talk about. Whether it's video games, whether it was firefighters, recipes, um, photography, and the and like and I started structuring it like find some resources, reflect on the resources, come up with something you can share with the class.
Okay.
And they just I spend a little time each week on that. And I was just gonna start the first 6 weeks with them picking their topics and starting to get some background material on that. So it's
Right.
really more individualized, and the driving question would be a lot more general.
Okay. I see. All right. Because that's, just going through and finding all the authentic resources that we've been talking about, and like going through Pinterest and finding all this authentic resources, or finding places out there, and then tying it in with the comprehensible input is what I'm trying to put together for my units. So,
Yeah,
but I
with
am
Genius
curious.
Hour, they kind of curate their own, but you show them how to do it. But
Okay,
yeah,
I am
I
curious about your division of units. How that's because there was a lot of Twitter today about not using textbooks.
yeah. Um, I mean, I basically do it based on the project. So, like, they work toward the project. Hopefully, it coincides with the end of the 6 weeks. But really, their major um, assessment for me is their portfolio, where they would take things from along the way of the project, or even the final presentation of the project, and then decide, and then line it up with some of the standards. Like this is a novice low reading example that I did. This
Right.
is a novice mid um, writing or something. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's their major assessment. So if the time for the project gets off, not as big a deal, but along the way I'm building it so they can present to a public audience, preferably.
Mm-hmm.
Like one I was able to get an audience with local YMCA kids, some of whom spoke Spanish, so because we don't have a huge native speaker population. One they connected with a school in Argentina and were like trying to get them to join some clubs about things they were interested in.
Right.
One they were teaching kids in an ESL class how to make some simple recipes that even elementary kids could do.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the point was to scaffold it up to where they could do something real with real Spanish speakers.
Right. Now, is it a possibility now that you're, more comfortable with all the Google Hangouts to do a hangout with some place that's on the same time zone?
And that's what we did with Argentina. It wasn't a hangout; it was a Skype because
Skype.
like
Yeah.
because Hangouts was pretty new to us then, and we tried to do a Hangout, it did not work, and the Skype was kind of problematic too. But we Skyped, and like the kids took turns presenting their reason you should join our club. And then, in theory, they're supposed to join afterwards, but it got really messed up with the technology because the Skype like cut off, and then we couldn't do it, and because
Now,
it was really funny.
with the students in Argentina, then would they respond back or want to practice in English, or how did that work?
Yeah, they had their own clubs, and they presented theirs in English. And
Right.
I think because of the technical difficulties, I'm not even sure they got to do theirs. And we ended up sending each other videos, and that was not as effective since
Right.
it was not real time.
Okay. Hmm. Well, I mean, usually in my first year, I try to base it around, me, my friends, my family. I have those three things. So, and I go from there.
There's Heidi. Yay. Yeah, and I have a hard time figuring out where those fit in with anything realistic besides like, hey, my name's so and so. How are you? And like what would be the ultimate goal of that? Like what I mean, and then I kind of got some experience with it with my son when he was in Mexico, and he speaks like this much Spanish. I think Heidi's catching up. And so so he was like he wanted to do something with this other little boy. He wanted to play a game with him. So
Yeah.
what is it they would need to introduce themselves in order to do?
Hmm.
Hola, Heidi. So I think that's perfectly legitimate,
Hola.
and if you make the connection with another group and you can like hang out or Skype with them, I mean it makes perfect sense to
Well, see, this is where I'm trying to transition from that to like what you're doing, which is a lot more
right.
sophisticated. So I just have to figure out some kind of angle for them to fit those in with the new stuff.
Do you have a connection to a French audience? Like, do you have a friend in France or somewhere else? Do you like?
You know, yeah, kind of I do, but not really in a school.
I've done stuff with my ex-mother-in-law,
Oh,
and she used to be a nurse, and so like they talked to her about the healthcare there.
okay,
So I think starting with the audience, like, well, sure, they're going to need to introduce themselves to anybody, but then what are they going to do with them? What do
right,
they? Why do they need to get to know that person? What do they want to get to know that person for?
right, okay.
Heidi, you caught up? I think she might be doing the beginning of the conversation. We're
Yeah,
trying to.
I'm listening.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Have you done anything with PBL before, with project-based learning?
No, I haven't. That's why I was in the driving question
Okay.
course
Yeah.
last week.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just gather some information how I can begin.
Right. And I started the response to your question. Maybe that's something we could look at too. Maybe I could share that the driving question with Patty, if that's okay.
Oh,
Right? Yeah.
that's great.
All right. So yours was the great place to visit one, and you changed. Where's what you changed it to? Okay. As a tourist guide, how would you design an appealing walking tour of the most important landmarks in Panama City, or whatever city you choose, and include 5 landmarks? So the tourist guide kind of thing might be something you could do. So like if you had a friend who was going to come visit your, or who's going to visit somewhere, um, was the original good place to visit something about where they lived, or
Mm-hmm.
so they were introducing somewhere that they were all the time? Like they were introducing it to people who were new to the area, to their own to their
Lost you.
hometown.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm thinking, if you were, you know, guiding somebody in your own hometown, um, and you didn't have landmarks, opposed to you had to prepare something for another city. Is that what you're talking about? Like doing the research to find other landmarks in Panama?
Is that what you meant, Heidi? Like they're researching somewhere they've never been to guide someone around it? I think she might be frozen.
Yeah, looks like it.
Okay. Well, I've done tourist kind of projects before. The one time I tried ePals and with a group in Chile, and then there was a teacher strike, so that was awesome. Um, but we were making like a little guide to our city, like how to get from places, and so
Right,
we were doing that. We were giving a guide to them in Spanish, and they were supposed to be making a guide in English because they were in English class to their town. So the language and the culture were kind of separate, except that you're still talking about the same kinds of things, and they could still understand it.
mhm.
So my take on that would be, I think it would make more sense to find a Spanish speaking audience to share your own community with, to share your current knowledge, and
Yeah,
then have them share their knowledge of where they are. And I think it would be even more interesting than an outsider's view. Like if they have someone show them the cool places, because like my connection in Argentina is not in Buenos Aires, but like outside Buenos Aires. So like it would be a town that nobody else ever knew. So it's like an in club kind of thing that
right.
they know about, and it would be their place. It would kind of belong to them more that way.
I like the idea of, sharing and knowing about your community and maybe doing some directions and,
Hmm.
where you would go and why you would go there, and so on.
Yeah, and then you could get into like the hobby kind of stuff. Um, you could get into like
Or,
what it is you like to do.
right. And then you could even probably incorporate, maybe where people work. And that's what I'm looking for the family. Like if,
Mm.
a hospital, my mom works there or something like that.
I mean, it could just be like if it's a landmarks that kind of thing, it could kind of be like my family's favorite places, and then they could interview their family and maybe build it up that way.
Right, right.
Mm.
I think you could could you
Okay.
Hello,
she
are you
frozen
there?
again?
Heidi, did you freeze? Oh, she said lost connection.
Oh,
You there, Heidi? Luce is trying to get into. See if we can get her. So
Hello. No,
there you are.
sorry. I lost connection. My connection is not very good.
That's too bad. But what, Heidi? What do you think of the doing it as a tour of their own hometown to share with someone in another country.
Yeah, that could work too. I was just trying to follow the example of the great place to visit, and I just was thinking like me trying to that they know me where of Panama to begin with that, and then they can choose different cities. But yeah, that can work with their own community to use the language. I just wanted to introduce a little bit of culture, like they're talking about Panama City, others can be talking about Buenos Aires, so in that way everybody can share a little bit of different countries.
Do you have someone in Panama or elsewhere who they could present their city to, so that they could so that they would have someone to guide or that could guide them? Because we were thinking it would be a little bit more personal if they got the
Um,
tour.
it's possible that yes, I can find like a but I haven't made a connection yet.
Okay. So and well, it wouldn't be
So that
much
would
for culture.
work better with pen pal thing.
With what?
Would work with culture that having that pen pal connection
Mm. Well, and if they had someone who was
would
sharing
work better.
the same thing. Yeah, like if they shared their own community, they could get the culture when the other community shared theirs, when the audience like returned the favor, I guess you could say. Oh, now I'm losing video.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And I think there would be a lot more interest too if it were their own community, because it'd be something it would be sharing a part of themselves. Like, and so Patty, that would get the me part, like getting
Right.
their hobbies, getting their, and
Yes.
Hmm.
and at one point I had my kids exchange, well, not exchange because we didn't get it back, but we sent some school supplies to a school in Colombia, and that my kids made videos of like their house and their family, because that was really interesting to them when they saw pictures from
Yeah.
Colombia that their houses were so different, and it could just be like, hey, come to my house kind of thing, and
Right. Well, yeah, like the realtor thing that we were talking about the one time.
yeah,
Yeah.
so like selling their place. Somebody I know did something trying to find an apartment or in another country. Um,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how authentic that would be for project base, because they wouldn't be able to actually go there most likely, at least not until years
But
That
later.
can
But
work.
if you did a Skype and you could see the different types of housing or apartments in big cities like in Panama or maybe some type of virtual tour or something.
the
I don't.
virtual tours are really popular. They're really cool because like the kids from Colombia sent us what is it? Sent us a video of just like showing us around their house, and the kids were like, "Oh my God," because it was so completely different. Because it's a very poor area, and so, but they were afraid. It was interesting because they were afraid to show what they had because they didn't want to make them jealous. But so they were making these really intricate cultural comparisons
Right.
just by seeing each other's houses.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, I think the real estate thing now they have virtual tours of homes, and if you could, even if one of your students could say have a virtual tour of say a place in a Spanish speaking country, and one of your students was the not the tour guide but the realtor, you know, as far as I don't know how that worked. That's kind of minuscule just to homes, but
Yeah.
maybe they could be the tour guide of another city, you know, family vacation.
And, or maybe just like you want to come over to my house. Like if you come over to my house, this is what you would do. Like this is what we'd eat. This is what you do. And
Right,
I don't know, because they like to make those connections. And what some of my kids did, even before we had like a real purpose to Skyping with the Argentina class, they just made Facebook friends with them, and they just occasionally like say stuff to each other in whatever language
right,
to to keep up. But that was, I feel like there has to be some kind of reason to connect with them, and that's
right.
kind of why I did the club thing, and
Yeah,
like a reason to show them your house,
right.
other than the standards say so.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to brainstorm a little bit about that. So, but I do like your idea about the environmental thing. I'm trying to think of different different fingers that would jump off of that, you know?
I know that like the numbers are a pretty logical jump, and like I think I could get days of the week and months just through the planning aspect of it. Like when
Yeah,
do you need the plan? When do you need the presentation? You know, and we've done a lot with setting stuff up that way.
yeah. And I'm sure when you go online, you can find everything that's related to like environmental, like not garbage pickup, but some kind of like there's Mrs. Green, you know, she goes around and in her truck and picks up your plastic or your bottles on certain days at certain times.
Actually, like I just did searches for infografías on Pinterest, and like they had, and I can't remember what country it was, but they had like 4 different colors of receptacles,
Oh yeah,
and they meant different kinds of recyclables.
right,
And I just searching for infografías, and that was kind of cool. But now I've got like all these awesome infographics, and I'm like, how do I get them to the kids, and what do I have them do with them?
right. Because I was talking about printing infographics and
Right.
to make. I think I'm going to use an infographic to present my professional relevant text or my unit. I'm just trying to figure out how to set it up. Uh, as far as a unit, like you say, you know, I'm going to do this and this and this and make it all pretty and everything.
There's a model on picture chart that kind of is a snake, so you could do like the progress, like what you
Oh,
start with.
yeah, yeah, okay. The snake, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's like a timeline kind of thing basically because it's like beginning
Right.
to end, and that.
I hate snakes.
Well, I mean it doesn't look like a snake.
Okay.
It's the action snake.
Okay.
You know? So
Huh. Okay. So, hmm. I haven't thought about environment, but I like that. I'm intrigued by that.
and
You
what
know, and maybe we could brainstorm about that.
I wonder if they should have like they should pick a material that they want to reduce it, like a harmful material that they want to reduce, and
Yeah. Okay.
they could do it through
Like
recycling.
water waste.
Hmm?
Water waste.
Yeah, it could be water waste, it could be paper, it could be plastic, it could be car parts, or it could be oil, and they would have to decide if they need to reduce, reuse, or recycle it or something, and
Okay.
then figure out a plan. Okay, so yeah, so you think starting with a material would work? Like they choose
Yeah.
a material.
Yeah, because that brings in so many different things. If you know, water, where is water? How is it used? And you do paper. I think the product thing's kind of cool because you have
Okay.
uh, computers and PCs. You know, that's a big deal.
Yeah, but how would I open up the choices to them? I was thinking of doing something with like a word map, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure. I don't know if I
that's what.
want to like give them some infographics to do that to build it off of, or if I just want to make them one.
Uh, well, you know, you could do the word cloud thing, and you
Oh
could have
yes,
or the Venn. You know, reuse, recycle, repurpose. You know, because a lot of people are starting to repurpose, you know, like pallets, you know,
yeah. Upcycling is all the rage.
yeah. um, wood, chipping, what do you call it? The
The
stuff that
mulch.
mulch, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the product thing would be kind of cool because a lot of people are cashing in their metal for, for money or something. Uh, and that even flows into like Habitat for Humanity.
Actually, and we could make those connections. Like they would have the choice of who to contact. Because one thing that Garnet Hillman does with Genius Hour is she has them make a connection in the Spanish speaking community so that they are presenting to Spanish speakers somehow. So like they could connect with a business, they could connect with Habitat for Humanity. I found this one thing online in their plastic bank where they're taking plastic trash, plastic waste, having
Yep.
people collect it, turn it in for income, and then they're recycling it into 3D printing materials. And they're setting up an office in Lima, Peru, but I think they're kind of busy setting up that office to be able to actually contact the kids. But
Then there's rubber, from tires.
right,
They're using that to make like tracks on your, field and track. You're making your track fields out of that now too. They're using that for mulch.
yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I think that might be, there's metal, plastic, paper, glass. Let's see.
And actually, we could do like we did with the Genius Hour to get the vocabulary going, where I asked them the question like, what can you recycle? Like, ¿qué puedes reciclar? Or, uh, quoi peux-tu I don't know how to say recycle in French, but like,
Me neither.
um, so
I've never had to do it. Recycle. I don't know. Recycle. I don't know. I'll have to ask my friend. She's here, so I'll have to ask her about it.
but like, what can you recycle? And like, have them draw a picture of what they can recycle, and then that we can build the vocabulary list from that. Like, I could
Right.
put and then we'd have a direct image to vocabulary connection.
Yeah. And then there's the harmful recycling things that get into the ground, and then you're affecting was it animals and fish and so on like that.
So the questions might be, what can you recycle? What contaminates or pollutes?
Pollutes, yeah, there's the word, yeah,
And Spanish is pretty much just contaminate. So
yeah. So I haven't really thought about that, but that's kind of key. So, because we have some factories, or we have a couple of factories in our city, in our small town here. So,
so like they could come up with solutions for them.
yep. And then there's those giant waste places where they just keep plowing things higher and higher and higher, and
Yep.
so okay, that's cool. But then there's like composting.
Yeah. So maybe like organic waste would be one of the materials, like food scraps or something.
Yep. I mean, it's great. I use them every summer after my compost all winter. So,
Nice.
yeah. Um, hmm. Trying to think. What else?
What would the ultimate goal be, do you think? Like, I
Well,
can't.
I think that I could talk to my son-in-law, who's a chemical engineer working for Dow Corning, and he's working on a project. He's been working on a project, a special project for 2 years about, I mean, it's pretty complicated. I really don't understand when he talks about it, but they're trying to figure out a way to recycle waste. So, I mean, these are actual companies that are trying to figure out on their own with their best engineers
Yeah.
how to do things like that. So I could pick his brain a little bit and get back to you too, because that could be the driving question.
Yeah, it could. But part of my issue would be, how do I make the Spanish relevant to it? Like, why would they need to come up with something in Spanish for it? And
Right.
so like if Down Corning had branches in Spanish-speaking countries, it would make
Yeah.
sense for them to come up with something. So we'd
Right.
want to find companies that have branches in Spanish-speaking countries so that they could offer the solutions. I was thinking
Right.
maybe of like connecting with my Argentina friend about like what they could do in Argentina and what's how and just have them discuss those kind of things. So
Right.
and maybe I mean maybe even they could come up with a plan for each other's schools. I don't know.
But there. I mean, there are like companies that I like. Just on the other side of the St. Lawrence, outside of Quebec, there's this giant paper, um, paper mill.
Bill.
See all these um, logging, and they're just kind of crunching it all down to make paper, those paper mills. So if they do pick one particular product, like paper or plastic or rubber or metal, then they could look into which companies are are using them and which companies are abusing them. Like steel companies or glass companies, how they're recycling glass, and it probably would depend on what the kid's interested in. If he would, you know,
Yeah, I think that might be a bit ambitious to go for like whole
yeah,
company's policies.
right. I mean, it's just something that they look down the road. There's really are people that are trying to do things, you know. So, I mean, I don't think that they're actually going to solve it, but at least they know that in the back of their mind. Oh, well, if I choose plastic, are there really people out there that are doing stuff with it? So, it's just one of those overlying things, I think.
Yeah, if they wanted to take it that far, I think I would prefer to concentrate more on like daily routine ways to affect it, and maybe like local businesses, things they could do.
Okay, yeah. Because you're talking level one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Just 1 second. Okay. Hmm. Okay, just had to let the cat in. It's almost dark time.
True that. True
But,
that.
I think that each of these product areas, you brought up a good point, that they all have vocabulary within them, like water and where you find it and all those little areas. I mean, you could actually make little word clouds or word maps or something just as a class discussion for all the different, and how they are about giving you ideas for, where do you find this and how would we take care of it and so on. You bring in a lot of vocabulary that way.
So like if we were to brainstorm people that use plastic, if they decided to use plastic, and
Right.
that and ways that plastic is used, or
Containers. And that brings in your food and that brings in, all the things that are in plastic containers.
yeah.
That's crazy.
So do you think they should ultimately try and come up with something to present to local businesses for ways they could reduce or the ways they could have green, just like one policy that they could do to become greener?
They could do that, or you could just present it maybe to your school. What is your school cafeteria? I mean, what do they do with all their containers, or what do they do with, you know, um, like, did they use styrofoam plates in the cafeteria? Do they use paper plates? Do they use plastic silverware? I mean, you could just present something, well, maybe not to the school board, but to the company who, you know, services them too.
That makes me think that maybe the partnership with the other school would be necessary for the Spanish component. Like for that, maybe they could just partner up and bounce ideas off each other, and maybe compete to see who can make a bigger change or
Well,
whose
yeah,
policy works better.
right. I mean, you could. I mean, are you at a junior high or a high school?
High school.
Okay.
But I'm on a college campus because we're an early college, so we're housed within a community college.
Oh, okay. So they could actually explore to maybe the junior high, the middle school, the elementary schools in that sense too, and bring in some surveys and work with some local companies. But you could start just within the school too and see, because some of them might have brothers and sisters, siblings that are in others, and say, take this survey and kind of check it out and then report back in the target language. I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah, because we're kind of limited in
Right.
our local community.
Yeah, I mean, we're the only high school. We have one junior high, one middle school, and like 5 elementary schools.
Yeah.
But so I don't know. It's just it's something to brainstorm about. I'm sure there's somebody out there that has a rubric or has already done all this.
Yeah. Well, they might have more Spanish speakers than I do, or they might have, I don't know. I find it's often harder to tweak what someone else has than it is to just come up with something that's relevant to your clientele and your community, you know?
Right, yeah. That's what I'm finding on Pinterest, but there might be some little um, picto charts or infographics or Pinterest things about environment. I mean, you could even steal just from the English, maybe just like there might be like a 6th grade or 7th or 8th grade rubric of a science teacher,
Yeah.
you know? So maybe work with the science teacher as far as that goes too. So,
Yeah, because the 10th grade initiative, like the reason we're doing that is we have like the 10th grade PLC professional learning community, and so we've got the public speaking teacher, we've got the biology teacher. And I'm not sure if they also have history this semester or not, but like we're basically the three that they definitely have this semester.
oh,
So
okay.
so like we could team up with them, and that would be cool. And like they want to do something with the plastic bank, and they're already arranging stuff with the local community with the cleanup and all that. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I have a good friend of mine, colleague. She's the bio teacher, and she teaches something else besides bio that where they go out and do all kinds of environmental things. So I could pick her brain a little bit and see what she thinks about how to collaborate and bring all those things together. Hmm. Could you introduce some kind of scavenger hunt too with all those items maybe?
yeah, possibly
Hmm.
like see if they could, or maybe get them some gloves and like go through the trash and see how many recyclables are in the trash.
Yeah.
That'd be funny. That'd be gross, but funny.
Yeah. I mean, it opens up itself to a lot of vocabulary,
Yeah. Do
you
you think
know.
too much?
Well, no, but if you have them in small groups, they could all be in charge of, different different avenues of each of those, and there's enough products here that you could divide your class into and you know see who comes up with you know the most items for each one.
Yeah, like who saved the most kilowatt hours with the recycling, or who saved the most pounds from being sent to the landfills,
Yeah, yeah, landfills, there you go.
or kilograms that we could do some metric conversion and get really
Yeah,
algebraic in there.
yeah. So there's a lot of potential there, it's kind of a cool idea like
Okay.
that. So I'll have to throw that in somehow.
Well, and maybe that's the way to do family too. Like, say, my brother, drinks 3 1 liters a day, or
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
like
uh,
reporting on their family habits.
right. And instead of, yeah, they could do a little journal.
Yeah,
They could do a little bit of journaling. Um, but their family, their friends, whoever, how much time or how much of everything that they do. Instead of counting calories, we get
right.
other things. Yeah. All right.
And maybe they could pick the group that they're trying to affect. Like, it could be just one of their classes, or it could be their own family, or
Yeah, yeah. Or their friends. Yeah. And if
and like
there's, yeah. Huh.
I don't know how weather would factor in though.
Well, I'm
That's
just thinking, if it's, like just after Thanksgiving, after Christmas, it's usually the the teachers get together and start a little, dump your whatever, how much weight you can lose before spring break, and you get into little teams. So maybe the kids could get into little teams and uh, and be a little contest.
how much waste they could save. And if they could compete with a group in another country,
Right.
that would be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it could be something really simple. It's just, you know, the water that you don't use brushing your teeth or something.
Yeah, or just or not using plastic bags at the grocery store, or
Exactly. Yeah. Things like that. So, um, and even just recycling, I really encourage my students to recycle, and then we use that money as one of our fundraisers for our trip next year. So,
oh
um,
wow.
so I'm going to try and I have bags everywhere, and I have
Yeah.
teachers helping, and they contribute too. So, could be little things like that.
Okay, so Heidi has emailed me some questions since we're getting towards the end. She wants to know what topics we can develop PBL units on. Um, Something that's not overwhelming. So yeah. So do you have any other ideas? Like, I've been following Don's thing. He's doing a PBL class out in California about this
Right.
week, and they had like the virtual tour kind of thing, the museum tour. They had a restaurant kind of thing where like you preserve the culture. That's what he talked about at the last one, and those are the only ones I remember offhand.
I I thought he had one where maybe it was Steve Smith about something to do with the art world.
Yeah, yeah, like a museum tour.
hmm No, just artists. Um, but I
Oh,
don't. Yeah, just artists.
hmm.
Uh, and he said he starts out his level 2 with that, but um, I'm not quite sure. I didn't really get all the details of what he was talking about. So, um, but besides environmental, health is a good one too. I like to use
Hmm.
health. Um, besides shopping and things like that,
Yeah.
just using health things, for different seasons, and if we could figure out some kind of something there with health, that would be good. Um,
Yeah, because when I was gonna do the health one before we had the green angle, I was gonna have them like keep a journal of their food and of like then what however many minutes they spent doing whatever activity they want, or if they had a Fitbit they could do however many steps they took, and then try and increase their activity and adjust their diet, not necessarily calorie wise, but like having more protein if that's what they need, or less carbohydrates, or less fats, or less sugars, or something.
right. So food, health, and fitness, I think that would be easier too. Um,
Um, what was the other one you said? The art. What what kind of PBL do you see the art world doing? Like, besides a virtual museum tour,
you
like
know, yeah,
what audience would they need to
yeah,
reach?
that's the audience, right? Hmm. Well, I'm thinking of that one, like Monuments Men.
I've heard of that. I don't know much about it. Oh,
I
like
guess,
the saving the stuff in World War II, was it?
right. So it how about could it be kind of a what if, you know? Like what kind of art things would you save from your community or from from a famous city if there were um, some kind of natural disaster or something? You know, could you put it out there like that?
Yeah, a driving question course, and one of them was something about what old buildings should be saved in your community.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's really good. That is really good. Because we
Yeah.
had one of our old buildings just recently. Um, Baker College turned it into a dorm, and now
Hmm.
it's all covered with
Everything.
stucco or something. Gosh,
Wow.
yeah. So yeah, that's. I'm trying to think of the driving question for art would how to save it. Um, hmm.
Maybe
Let's,
something about the creation, like what something to represent the community. Like if there's a sister city or something, like what could you
yeah.
create to represent? I don't know.
Um, what about like that old game Masterpiece?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's really old. But I don't know, maybe if I'm trying to think of some way that you could include some cultural things like art and music and, uh, I don't know if it's, I don't think really traditions, but art, music.
One thing we did last year with the YMCA kids who some speak Spanish is we did a Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. And so like they picked some kind of most of them wanted to do an art kind of thing, so they picked some kind of art project that represented the culture to teach the kids about. And so like some of them were like coloring lucha masks, some of them were making little cascarones eggs that you can put glitter in and you smash, and some were making um, calaveras cookies, like dead cookies.
Right.
So like maybe to teach the local community about the target culture.
hmm
Not sure
I
why that
mean,
would be.
I'm I'm just jumping off of that. What if, you know, like if what would you say for a time capsule?
Yeah, yeah. Ooh.
You know?
For when the French take over.
Yeah, right. So I'm just thinking, you know, I don't want to be like a doomsday sayer or something like that, but if you had to, I'm, tr I'm trying to think, like you said, the audience and the driving question, and how would that involve art and music and those cultural things? Um, that's a good question. If you could make one up from that.
I think we'll have to keep thinking about that. Maybe we'll post that on the community and come back to that. Like, what are some driving questions you could come up with that would require students to engage with artwork and stuff like
Right.
that?
Yeah, art, you know. Yeah.
All right. Well, our time is officially over. So
Okay.
we've got some ideas. Thank you for letting me kind of talk out the environmental thing, and we'll see if we
Yeah.
can get some more going.
All
All right.
right. Is there a CI one coming up again or no?
Yeah, there's one tomorrow night and one Friday morning.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, tomorrow night I can do. Friday morning I can't. Okay.
Okay. All right. I'll
Thanks.
see you tomorrow night.
Okay. Bye-bye.